So, when it comes to the decision of work versus not to work, then there must be a comparison, right? There must be a certain wage rate or terms of trade that is attractive, right? To bribe the worker to enter the labor market or to start the first hour of work. And this terms of trade has a certain terminology which is called the reservation wage. Reservation wage is the lowest wage rate that would make the person indifferent between working and not working. So this is kind of the lowest minimum wage I'm going to accept to start the first hour of work. And there are two important rules. So rule number one, if this market wage that, for example, a firm is offering you a certain wage, okay, so if the market wage is below my acceptable wage, then the person will not work, right? And this acceptable wage, of course, depends on how much you already have and how much your non-labor income changes. So if the non-labor income, let's say you're getting an income from the stock market or you inherited from a family member some amount of income, then you're not like in a rush to find a job. So your acceptable wage is going to increase. Your minimum acceptable wage is going to increase. So those are two important rules. So looking at the reservation wage, if this is like the point of combination between consumption and leisure, and suppose this is the optimal bundle. This optimal bundle has a budget constraint with a wage of negative W, right? So if your reservation wage increases, then you're going to ask for a higher wage. So there is a steeper budget constraint. And the opposite is true, right? So you're going to have a lower budget constraint. And as we said, the steeper the indifference curve or the higher its slope, right? The higher is the wage rate, like the higher your asking price or the higher the wage rate that you would accept. Okay, so the reservation wage is the minimum is the minimum wage that you will accept to start the first hour of work. So looking at the relationship between hours of work and the wage rate, we are going to compare between the wage or the market rate versus reservation wage. If the market rate is higher than my minimum acceptable, then I will supply hours of work. So you are going to substitute leisure for work. So leisure or substitution effect is going to dominate income effect. Okay. If the income effect dominates the substitution effect, then hours of work are going to decline as wage rate increases. So we have actually two possibilities. A positive relationship between hours of work and the wage rate, and this is basically saying as wage rate increases, hours of work increases, right? And so it's a positive relationship, which is everything here. As wage increases from 10, 13 to 20, hours of work increases from 0 to 20 hours of work to 40 hours of work. However, we have another part which is negative, okay? Again, wage rate is still going up, but hours of work is decreasing now, okay? So the first part in which we have wage rate increases and hours of work increases, which is this one, the positive sloped part, then it basically means that your substitution effect dominates the income effect. In other words, you are substituting leisure for the additional income that you are getting. In other words, you are working more hours. And the second part is this one. So this is the positive sloped part and this is the negative sloped part. And this is when the substitution effect dominates the income effect. So you are actually buying more leisure, right, as income increases. So this one reflects the substitution effect. You are substituting work for leisure time. This one is the income effect. You are buying more leisure as income increases, and it makes sense that at certain point in time you will start, saying, okay, I have enough wage now, how about I can start having more relaxation time, start to have less hours of work. And this is what we call the backward bending supply curve, because it bends backwards. Okay, starts positive and then starts to bend backwards. The last terminology that I'm going to discuss in this video is the elasticity of supply. Okay, so elasticity, again, this terminology you have seen before in microeconomics class. So in a microeconomics class, whenever we talk about elasticity, it's all about the responsiveness. You want to measure the degree of response of the hours of work versus the wage rate. So it's like this: the percentage change in hours of work, I'm going to write it WK for work, because of the percentage change in wage rate. Okay, so this would give us elasticity, which has here a symbol of sigma. So sigma measures the elasticity, percentage change, responsiveness. And as we have seen before in the micro class, whenever this elasticity is less than 1, then it's inelastic. Whenever this elasticity is greater than 1, then it's elastic. What is the difference between the two? Inelastic, as the hours of work responds proportionately less than the percentage change in wage rate. So if I'm writing it like this, over the percentage change in wage rate, and if it is less than 1 or strictly less than 1, then this basically I can write it as the percentage. I can rewrite this as percentage change in wage rate. So if the elasticity is less than 1, it's inelastic. The hours of work responds proportionately less than the change in wage rate, and the opposite is true. Okay, so when we talk about gender, then you can look at the BLS and see different data sets, but what we can see is in general for females, you will find that there is an increase in labor force participation rate. However, this would differ between different countries. Okay, but what is common between many countries is that the participation rate has increased over time. And if we are saying that they start to supply more hours of work, we are talking about a positive part of the supply curve, where the substitution effect dominates the income effect. In other words, they are in the upward slope part. So when we talk about gender, then females, they have this part of their supply curve. So they are supplying more hours of work as income increases. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here, and I want you to read the policy applications. I want you to also go over these graphs. Read also about the earned income tax credits. These parts should be easy after we talked about the main theory part. Okay, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and write on the discussion forum or sign up for office hours. All right, thank you.